Bum, 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 bum. Am I live yet? Receiving your content. Live. Okay, there we are. Great. Great, 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 great. Great, 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 great. I just have to tweet this out. November live stream. Surprise, November live stream. Come say hi. This is always the most riveting part of these. Come and say hi. Perfect. Okay. Hi, everyone. How are we doing today? I am, of course, your best friend, your boon companion, your guide to these troubled times. My name is Kyle. I am doing my monthly live stream here for the public audience, and then after this, I will also do a little bit of a shorter live stream for my Patreon audience. So if you're a Patreon supporter, you'll be able to get that here in a few moments. I would love it. Oh, look at this. Mitten is here. That's perfect. That's awesome. Our stars are aligned. That's perfect. If you do have questions, by the way, those nagging things that are in the back of your head, funny situations you want me to discuss, or whatever's on your mind, let me know down in the comments, and we can have a little bit of a back and forth with this. More so than just me droning on for like 30 plus minutes of utter, complete Canadian nonsense, which, to be fair, is like 30% less than American nonsense, so it works out to your favor. Here's where I want to start, because I think there's some heavy topics I want to discuss, what with, sexual predators and all that sort of thing. But before we get to that, let's start with something that's going to be a little bit more low-key, a little bit more fun to talk about, and that's this book that, if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen me open here the other day. The End of the World, Alien Invasion. So I don't know how many of you are into the whole D&D thing, the whole Dungeons and Dragons, or the role-playing stuff that is available, whether or not it's something that you do in your actual real life, or it's just podcasts that you listen to. As a quick aside, I didn't think I would love D&D podcasts quite as much as I've ended up being the case. It started off with me like dipping my toe into the Adventure Zone, and that has now spiraled into a whole bunch of other stuff. Someone else just recommended to me the other day The Glass Cannon, which apparently is really good, but it takes like 30-some episodes before it gets good, which I don't know if I want that much of a time commitment in my life where I have to wait 30 hours before something gets interesting. But I did it with Buffy, so I guess I could do it with pretty much anything. My eye is like super itchy all of a sudden. I'm sorry. I'm just like... Anyways, this thing here, this End of the World series is made by Fantasy Flight Games. And this is the book that you pick up. It gives you all the rules, and it gives you your character sheet here in the back of the book to understand, to kind of go into these scenarios. What makes this a little bit different and puts it outside of D&D specifically is that it really strips it down. So if you have played D&D, and to answer Min's question, I have played D&D before in my real life, but I felt like I was always hampered by all the rules that were in place. Like I always felt like really out of my element. And what these podcasts have taught me is that it is much more role-playing than it is rule-based. The rules, of course, are important. You have to follow along. You can't just like win every instance that you go into. You can't just like make it easy for the players. But what I got bogged down on was like, oh, okay, so I'm carrying this. I have to like roll these dice, and I have to... all of this was like in the back of my head, so I wasn't able to like fully enjoy it. I don't think it was hard for me to like snap out of that, where I feel like now if I was just treating it straight up as like you are improving, you are basically role playing in this arena, it makes it a little bit easier to kind of fall into. This End of the World series, instead of having to have like literally hundreds of things that you have to keep track of with all the like these stats and stuff that are sometimes just bogs down the game. I remember when I was much more into D&D as a player, and I'm not even joking, sometimes it would be like 2 hours of being in the marketplace, like getting new equipment and checking the stats and increasing things. Like, just, it was not interesting to me doing that kind of stuff. I was much more into it when we're actually in the adventure part of it. So I keep getting distracted. But this End of the World series, what's interesting about it is that what you're doing is you're role-playing as yourself. You don't have to be some barbarian. You don't have to be some rogue monk. You are simply role-playing as yourself. And so I am creating a little bit of a campaign, and I'm going to test it out on one of my podcasts that I do called Whatever This Is. And what they tell you in the rules is that whatever storyline you want to go with, you start off by, everyone is in the room that you're currently in. This thing happens, and now you are now thrust into this adventure, being yourself, carrying what you currently have on you and what's in your pockets, and then trying to do the things that you would probably do. Now, there's room to like do some really cool storytelling elements. This is also for smaller campaigns, meaning that like a regular D&D campaign can sometimes stretch to be like anywhere between 50 to like 120 hours, and even probably beyond that. Like it can be really involved. You're doing this over multiple months, multiple nights of doing this role playing. Whereas this, you could do in a single setting if you wanted to, or over 2 to 3 nights is what they say inside the book. I'm more interested in doing something a little bit more long form than that. There's a storyline that's percolating in the back of my head to stretch this out to be a little bit longer than that. But yeah, it's still going to be a pretty self-contained story. And most of that is because you're not leveling up. And in D&D, what you're doing is you're starting off as like a level 1, whatever you are. And then you are slowly progressing and getting new skills and new talents and new stuff to slowly increase your ability to just like win battles and to win the different roles that you're doing. And in this, you're not really doing that. It's a very interesting dice roll system. I won't get into that. That's way too into the weeds, I think. But yeah, just an interesting concept where you get to role play as yourself instead of having to truly be something completely different. I know a lot of people aren't really into or find it easy to be somebody that just is doing a complete role play where they feel like it's really odd and awkward. I think this would be a good introduction to people who are interested in D&D or don't want to play a fantasy role-playing game, but instead would be up for like, yeah, I can be myself. I can take out those aliens, those little green men that are running around, that sort of thing. Anyways, so stay tuned for that as I develop my own campaign for the End of the World. Welcome to the 3 people that are watching. If you are just coming to the live stream, please feel free to leave comments, leave questions. Yeah, be involved in the comments below. This is hopefully supposed to be a bit of a give and take, a back and forward with people. So I would definitely like it if you get involved. So get involved. Now, let's talk a little bit about the monkey in the room, the elephant on people's backs. Nope, that's not the way that phrase goes. The monkey on people's backs, not the elephant. That would be very stressful, though. Mitten says, I'm starting a business where nerds can play games in my apartment called Air D&D, which is it's a good joke. I like that a lot. That's funny. I think this is a discussion that's going on here, and I think something that really is forcing people to reevaluate their I don't know, relationship with Hollywood, let's say, is that ever since this whole big Harvey Weinstein thing I don't even want to call it a thing. I think it's much more important than that. When those women came forward and said, hey, Harvey Weinstein is a super duper creep. And this is why, this is what he made us do. And if you've listened to some of the recordings that have been put onto the internet, it is horrifying, like what he was doing in his position of power. And since his downfall, it seems to be like this, whether you want to call it a power vacuum, or people have found their own inner strength to really come forward and hold people accountable, which is a good thing. I really want to make it clear that I think that is an awesome, amazing. I hope we kind of can clear the swamp, to steal a phrase from the last year that was overused. What I think a lot of people have been confronted with here recently, especially when it's people that you like that are implicated in some of these terrible things, it seems like people are trying to use like mind gymnastics, mental acrobatics to try and justify or to try to find holes. And I don't know, it's hard. Earlier in the year, let me start here. Earlier in the year, there was the ex-wife of Joss Whedon came forward. And I'm a huge Joss Whedon fan. I started watching Buffy. I loved Angel. Firefly is such a great show. And I've been a fan of his work, both as a director, a writer, and just as a philanthropist, and as a person to champion different rights. And so his wife came forward and talked about kind of the series of how he cheated on her quite a bit, how he took advantage of people on his sets, and he used his position of power and his position as a self-proclaimed feminist to do kind of shitty things. And it really, really bothered me. Not because it was like, I don't believe this at all. I don't want to believe this. I do believe her in what she says until, I guess, proven wrong. But it's forced me to reassess like what my relationship is with the media that I consume. Do I allow this person who I really respect, or who I used to really respect, who I really love their work, do I allow them to still take money from me? Do I still financially support their creations? Or do I have to take a step back and kind of reevaluate, like, well, no, I think I should support people who are not shitty people. There's enough shitty people in the world. Let's honor and let's support those people who aren't. And so this is coming to a head here, I think, this week. The biggest name, of course, is Louis C.K. But then, I mean, Dustin Hoffman, Jeffrey Tambor, and there's a whole host of other people that I personally liked and loved their work and loved many of the things that they have done in the past. And when that is brought forward, and when you understand that a lot of these people are just like, they're not necessarily great people, it kind of is a hit to my view of the world. It's a hit to many things like that. And of course, I believe the people that are coming forward. But I think it's harder to be like, yeah, screw Dustin Hoffman, than it is to be like, yeah, screw Brett Ratner, because no one likes Brett Ratner in the first place. I'm fairly doubtful Brett Ratner likes Brett Ratner. So yeah, it's easy to like hate on those types of people than it is to these people that you either respect or you like their work from. So this is where I'm at here right now, is that how do I go forward with this? And for me, at least for the foreseeable future, for the next many, many years, I have to make that choice and be like, I cannot support these people financially, even if they are making great works of art. I physically cannot do that anymore. So whether it's Kevin Spacey or Louis C.K. or whomever it happens to be, for me here at least, it has to be in this situation where, okay, you cannot, or I cannot, keep putting money into your pocket, even if I do not agree with what you're doing. If you're reprehensible, I cannot continually support that. So which this means, this is my, like, I don't know, activism, as little as it is. And let's be fair, this is as little as it can possibly be, which is not buying their movie, not going and seeing their films or their books or whatever it is that they're producing, and instead going to the people who seem to be upstanding people. It's awful because I think, like I said, I'll just use the Louis C.K. as the example. I like to stand up quite a bit, but I think his show, Louis, the TV show, pushed sitcoms into such a higher level of artistic output, and it's a shame that I shouldn't say a shame. It's just that now that he's tarnished that completely through entirely his choice, that it's going to be many years before that recovers, which is awful. And it's even more awful that these people who had to suffer this and many other people, that they had to go through it in the first place. Mitten writes down here in the comments, I agree with you, but I'm struggling with how to personally recontextualize something as important to me as like Horace and Pete or The Graduate. Yeah, and that's the hard part, right? Like with Horace and Pete specifically, like, that is a tough show to watch, most notably because of just how heart-wrenching it is. Like there's that one episode with Laurie Metcalf. Laurie Metcalf is in it, and it's literally just a monologue for 25 minutes that she's giving, and it is heart-wrenching and palpable and visceral, and she's so good in it. And it's like, do we just say that's too bad, never again? And with The Graduate, I mean, that's like one of the most important films, probably, well, definitely in the 60s, but obviously in Hollywood history too. The same argument can be made though for Woody Allen, like I mean with Manhattan and Annie Hall and some of his other films. These are films that kind of changed and very deeply moved cinema into different areas, or allowed different voices to be heard. So it's been something I've been struggling with actually a lot over this last year. The videos that I've been making, there was one that I made called Death of the Author, right? And I tried to argue as effectively as I could that I think you can separate the artist, and then all this other Weinstein stuff and other revelations were played, and I'm like, well, maybe I'm wrong. And that's really what it was for me. It's like, I'm changing my mind on this. I think that I'm siding a lot with William, who was in that video as well, and his argument was, when there is a time where the person is no longer financially benefiting from the consumption of that art, then I think that's the time we can go and try and reassess it. And I kind of I'm more and more inclined to kind of go in that direction, which is recognizing that this can be important. And actually, there's a critic who I'm a fan of on Twitter, where he mentioned that he had just seen the Louis C.K. movie, the black and white movie, who I can't remember. Thank You, Daddy, I think is what his movie is called. Anyways, he says, in some ways it's very unfortunate because the movie in itself is kind of dealing with these topics specifically, and some people are saying this is maybe a confession. He didn't mean that it was kind of a confession, but making a movie out of what he was doing. And he's like, this critic was saying that he hopes that in like 20, 30 years from now, people can come back and reassess this because it's a really interesting piece of art in looking at it through that lens. But he absolutely agreed, like, hey, I don't think we should be supporting this movie at this point, but maybe a few years from now, we can kind of come back and see what we all think from it at that point. Yeah, so that is my thoughts on that, as much as I can try and eloquently speak about things. Like I said, I'm not the most gifted of public speakers, so I try my best. Let's finish this off. I forgot to bring with me our favorite game of Mind Trap with me here today. So let's do this. Let's play some trivia here together. So I'll ask the question. Wow, this website is definitely not Cool. That is some really awful advertising there on the sidebar. Let me hide that. So I'm going to ask some questions. It is your job to try and answer them, and we'll see how we go through this. So, does anyone know what Elton John's first U.S. #1 hit was? Gosh, I have to remember exactly what. It's always hard for me with this because obviously not living in the 70s, I can never remember like in what order songs came out in. So I'm gonna guess like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road or something like that is gonna probably be #1. But who knows, right? Let me just figure out the answer. But put your answers down below if you think you actually do know off the top of your head. Let's do this. Trivia. Oh yes, this is a better website here. Okay. No idea is what most people are saying. It is Crocodile Rock is apparently what the answer is. So don't you all feel foolish. Okay, let's do this. What is the name of the longest mountain range in North America? North America. Well, I live right beside the Rocky Mountains, so I want to say that that's what it is. And I can't think of any that would be longer. But of course, I'm pretty Canadian-centric. You are correct, Mitten. It is not Tiny Dancer. That is not the longest mountain range. There's a little bit of a buffer of time here. Boom. Oh, so it is. I clicked too quickly. It is the Rocky Mountains. I am so smart. Trying to find like good questions here. Oh, well, I do know the answer to this, but this is a fun. What is one of those fun little trivia questions, which is American mobster Al Capone was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison for what crime? Lock in your answers now. If you need to phone a friend, do so. Dun, dun, dun. I feel like I am about 45 seconds out of sync with what the live audience is right now, which makes a game like this really hard because what happens is I ask a question and then there's like deafening silence for about a minute as people are like typing in what they think is going on. We'll do this one and one other one and then we'll wrap this puppy up and call it a day. Alright, so people are saying tax evasion for Al Capone, and the answer is tax evasion. I knew that one. That one I don't care. Oh my goodness. Let's get some good questions here. Oh, here's a good one. So, according to Arthurian legend, what was the name of the sword in the stone? Oh, so I read that in my mind wrong. Okay, I think everyone's going to know the answer to this. I thought it said, what was the last name of the sword in the stone? I'm like, I don't know. I know what the name of it is. The last name? Type in your answers, because that one is actually easier than what I thought it was when I first looked at it. Okay, I'm wound off with that one. Okay, so, yes, so Mitten puts down in as an answer Excalibur. Excalibur is correct. Apparently, also correct is Caliburn, depending on what language you are speaking. Here's the last one we'll do here. What was the name of the currency used in Spain before the euro? I have no idea is the quick answer here. No idea. Lira is in Italy. Deutschmark is in Germany. I don't know. What was the currency that was used in Spain? Anyone actually have an answer for that one? I'm going to wait like 15 more seconds. Ham. Correct. That is correct, Mitten. It is ham. No, the name of the currency that was used in Spain before the euro was apparently Pesetas. That's spelled P-E-S-E-T-A-S. Pesetas. I'm probably butchering that name quite a bit. Okay, well, I'm going to say that this is the end of our live stream here, at least as far as this week goes. Maybe what I'll do next month, in the month of December, it'll be our Christmas episode. Maybe I'll do a more involved tour of this space that I'm in right now as I create more Media Lab stuff. I've actually really renovated this a whole lot, so there's like more different. This big thing right behind me, by the way, is a huge light. So it's one of my prized possessions at this point. It cost me so much money. I am in so much debt right now. It's pretty terrifying. And then all the other stuff over there. Hopefully you have a good day, everyone. I have enjoyed this sitting down and talking with you. As I said, if you are a Patreon subscriber, you're going to get a little bonus few minutes with me as well in Smell-O-Vision, everyone's favorite vision. All right, everyone. Have a great night.